Okay, our next example here is another one where we have to complete the square, because what we noticed here is we don't have it written properly so we can answer the center and get the A and the B and all that. So we have to do some complete the square work on this first before we can answer these questions. Now what's different about the previous example we did with complete the square is we have an x squared there, but we don't have a single x term that comes after it. Because of that, that means that we're not able to actually complete the square with that x squared term. We can only do that with the y's. So first what we're going to do is we're going to set it up. Now the x squared, there's nothing we can do with that. We'll just leave it as x squared. Now these are already written properly. And then I'm going to put the 384 on the other side of the equation. So that's my first step. Next, I want to factor out the 16 in front of the y squared. Whenever you have a squared term there, you always want to factor out the number that's in front of that. So we're going to do that. 16 y squared minus 10y. We're going to leave a space because that's going to be the complete the square step there. And then we have negative 384 over here. We're only going to do complete the square only with this term, because again there's no single x term that we have next to that one, so we can only do the complete the square with the y's. We're going to take negative 10, divide that by 2, so that's step number 1. Divide that by 2, we get negative 5. Step number 2, you can take negative 5, square it, and we get positive 25. The positive 25, we need to add that inside here. So I'm going to add the 25 inside here. Remember that when you add it over on this side, you have to take this number you're adding, that you just added, multiply it by the number in front of the parentheses. So we have to multiply this by 16. So we have really 25 times 16 there on that side, which is going to be 400. So 400, and we have negative 384. That's going to give us 16 on that side when we combine that together. Now over here, the x, I'm not able to complete the square with it, but I could write it as a quantity as this. I could either write it as x minus 0 or x plus 0 squared. And then I have plus 16, and this one, that can be turned into a quantity squared. So for this one, for step number 1 there, we got negative 5. That's the number that goes inside the parentheses here. So I have minus 5, and I have this. The last thing we're going to do is we need to divide everything by 16, because we got to get a 1 on that side. So I'm going to divide this by 16, this one by 16, and this term by 16. And then finally we actually get it into the proper form. So we have this, and then we have number 16 is going to be a 1. So if everything cancels out, you still want to make sure you put some kind of number down below here, because it has to take up that space, so that way you know what the A and B values are. So I do want to purposely put a number down below there, even though I know it. We don't need to write the 1 there. I do in this case. Then we have a 1 on that side. So this is now in the proper form. So now that it's in the proper form, we're ready now to answer the rest of the questions and get the graph. Okay, now that we're done with complete the square, we're ready to answer these questions. So the center, because even if you have a negative or a positive there with the 0, you're still going to get 0 for the x coordinate of the center there. So that's, if you have just a squared term by itself with no parentheses around it, you're always going to get a 0 from that particular variable. This one, you're going to get a 5. So center is going to be 0, 5. That's your HK. So now we have that. We want to find our A, B, and C values. What we notice about this is the larger number is underneath the x term. That tells us that this is going to be an ellipse that's opening up sideways. Alright, so now I have the A value is always the square root of the larger number. So the square root of 16 is going to be 4. Square root of 1 is 1. That would be the smaller number there. So I have A and B. C is square root of A squared minus B squared. So 4 squared minus 1 squared. That's going to be the square root of 15. And for decimal purposes, it's about equal to 3.87, somewhere around there. That's about what it's approximately equal to. So that's, for graphing purposes, we'll use the decimal. We're ready to answer these parts. Your eccentricity is always C over A, same formula every time. It's square root of 15 over 4. That would be the exact value for it. If you work out the decimal, it's about 0.97. So this one is going to be probably the narrowest one that we've seen so far because it's closest to 1. So it'll be a real narrow one this time. Major axis, 2 times A. 2 times 4 is 8. Minor, 2 times B. 2 times 1 is 2. So we have that complete. Now we're ready to do the graph. First, we're going to start by plotting the center. Center is going to be at 0, 5. A value is 4, that it has to go in the direction that it's opening up. So because it opens up sideways, we got to go 4 to the left and 4 to the right. So we go 4 to the left, make a dot. 4 to the right, make a dot. So now we have that. Those are your vertices. So the vertices, we can go ahead and write those down. It's going to be plus or minus 4 comma 0. Not 0, 5. Plus or minus 4, then 5 would be the y value here. So that's your vertices. Now foci, we're going to add and subtract 3.87. Now 3.87 is really going to be almost on top of the other one if we plot those. So it's going to be really, really close to each of the vertices. And you'll find that the narrower it is, the closer the foci actually are to the vertices. You'll find that that's always going to be the case for all these problems. So what I did there is I added and subtracted the square root of 15. The y value is still going to be 5. So I did really 0 plus or minus square root of 15, or I'll just put this, square root of 15, and then comma 5 would be the y value. So plus or minus root of 15 comma 5, that's your foci for each case here. Your b is 1. So we're going to go up 1 and down 1. And so now we have the points that we need to draw in our ellipse that we have here. And so there it is. Now it's complete. So again, you can tell it's very, very narrow here because we got 0.97. It's farther away from 0. That's what we predicted would happen when we drew this one. Okay, so we have everything now complete. Foci, add and subtract square root of 15. 5 is the k value, so that's why we're using that. Everything all goes along that direction, and the graph is complete.